Welcome back. It is 60 degrees outside in mid-November. Perfect day for a yard tour. Stay tuned and we'll do that right now. So one of the things that I did is I had my husband help me create a little barrier from the bunnies for some shrubs and some tulips that I have in containers, which are buried underneath this mulch. Some of these still sticking out here are the blueberries, which need to be buried even deeper than what he's got them. And even though he made a great attempt to try to keep the bunnies out, that gap over there is going to allow them to get in, so we're going to have to do a little bit more work. I think it's just going to be easier to bury the shrubs myself. So this area here is outside of my greenhouse, and I don't know what we're going to do outside of here. I think I'm going to do some temporary nursery beds next year, but for right now it's just going to be a winter zone for some of my plants that I'm trying to save. Let's see how it works. On the ground here I put contractor's cardboard or paperboard. It's really heavy board that I got from Menards. We overlapped it and then put some mulch on top. And here I've got some high bush cranberries and other things that I'm trying to save. You can see it from this area here. It's buried pretty deep, everything except for the blueberries, which I know I need to get some more wire or something around down at that other end, because they will chew them right to the ground where they can get at it. Moving along, outside of the greenhouse area I have one little maple tree here, and what I have on the ground are some perennials that I had dug up from a different flower area, and I'm going to leave them just bunched like this. I'm not going to bury them, and we're going to let Mother Nature take its course. In most cases they will all be just fine, and I don't need to do anything more with them, so I'm not going to bury them. We're just going to let them go. Believe it or not, they will be fine in most cases. Trees and shrubs don't like this, but perennials can handle it. One of the things that I was really surprised about, this is my apple tree, one of my apple trees, and it's got all the leaves on, and in some cases they're still green. I can hardly believe it. We've been all the way down to killing frost, real hard frost, and it still has leaves on it. I've never seen that before. So this is going to be interesting. I do need to come in. You can see how it looks like a shade tree. It desperately needs to be pruned, and I will probably do that either yet this fall or winter, or very first thing in the spring. One of the things that I'm excited about is this area here, which I'm creating a garden, and we're calling it our French garden. So we've got some stakes out to kind of show the exterior. I put craft paper down, and I'll maybe show that in some B-roll. And then we put some compost down, and then I planted a ton, hundreds and hundreds of tulips. So looking forward to this area, which is going to be our French garden. We'll have a really nice walkway as we go in here, and then the goal is to put a blind up, and these are some yews that I put in here. These are Hicks yews, and this is just kind of a placeholder for them. And then what will end up happening is we walk in, there'll be another path here. So there'll be a row of Hicks yews on the right, and on the left I've already got arborvitaes planted. So it's kind of hard to see here, but these are some little arborvitaes. They're only a few inches tall. You can see them as you go down, that I actually propagated, and they got roots just this year. So it'll be really fun next year as we continue to develop this garden. Again, this is what we're referring to as the French garden. In this little area I have buried a bunch more of shrubs and some trees, and then I think I have some other things in here, maybe a vine. I think that might be I think this is actually a clematis vine that I have in a container, but we've buried it completely. And then I have all of these apple trees that I put in here and buried them with an effort to try to keep the bunnies off them. Last year the bunnies got into the garden, my main garden, and just chewed everything that wasn't covered in heavy plastic. So I had to cut off these trees, and I'll show some B-roll, and to try to get them to recover, which is, you know, they're coming along slowly but surely. It'll be interesting to see, and I'll espalier them as they continue to recover. Hopefully this is enough to keep them off. And just to help in the effort, I've got some live traps for the bunnies, so we'll catch them and then we take them down the road and release them, just in case. I know there's at least 2 bunnies out here because I could see them on the security cameras. So hopefully we can reroute them to a new home. I think it's always interesting to look at a space and decide what it's going to look like. Stakes are a really good way to kind of show you if you're going to have a tall border, what it will look like. It kind of gives you the feel of an enclosed space, even though it's not enclosed. It's kind of nice because it helps to give a visual if you're struggling. In this area, I recently transplanted a bunch of privet hedges that I had grown from cuttings, and I'll be really anxious to see how those take off. They grow so fast that it should be a lot of fun to see them grow and thrive in this area. Just want to block the area from the road. So this area of my yard tends to have a gaping hole in it where you can see the road like this. And I want to have that closed off, so that's why I've planted a row of privet in here to hopefully within 3 years have it all sealed up. If I walk into this area of the yard, if I walk in through here, you can see how big this area is. This is where I'm going to have the French garden. This is just another view from what would be the inside area of the garden, or the back of the garden. This is an end of season look of my, what I call the Dutch garden, because I have a lot of spring bulbs in here. Everything has died back completely, well, for the most part, even though I got a couple of flowers that are hanging in there, because we did have, like I said, a hard frost. You can see the silvery foliage of the Russian sage, and then the other plants that have died back, and I leave them there because I really need to get in here and plant a bunch of spring bulbs in areas where I know I have some gaps. So I still have to get that done yet. I'll be working on that maybe today. Another look at the Dutch garden. Very barren right now. So here's a look outside of the vegetable garden. This is my rose garden, which is definitely kind of going to sleep. I've toyed with the idea of putting another fence around the other side of it just for the winter to keep the bunnies off, because the bunnies usually come in and they shred them all the way to the ground. Hasn't been a problem. All the roses tend to come back just fine. So this is the view of our courtyard garden, also known as a pavilion, where we've got our smokehouse, or where we've got our pizza oven in there, and then this little patio, or this little courtyard area, which we're going to leave grass. And I've got it surrounded by privet and some arborvitaes and some spruce. So this area here where the grass is kind of rough and vacant, we have some bare spots. That's where this line of, that's where the grapevine trellis was, and we rearranged it, moved it 10 feet out to where the location is now. And I've been working for the last couple of years to get the grass to grow back in there. I need to hit it again in the spring. I didn't do anything with it this year. I just let it kind of do its thing. And next year I'll try to top it off with some compost and some new seed and see if I can get it to fill in the rest of the way. When we dug these grapevines out and moved them from the other line, I thought for sure they would surely die, although I've been told that grapes are pretty resilient. You can see how old these vines were. They're pretty old and woody. So when we dug them up, I wasn't sure they were going to make it, but every single one of them made it. Here is one of the projects we finished just about a month ago. And this is a wood-fired oven, or sometimes people refer to it as a pizza oven, although you can cook anything in it. And it was a labor of love my husband had. He started in July. And maybe I will do a separate video just on this topic. If you're interested in that, please drop me a note below so I know. Yeah, this was something that he got the insert from Forno Bravo, and then everything else, we just pieced it together. And he just did a beautiful job, all the tile work. He built the door below from scratch. My husband's quite a crafty man. It looks pretty good. We really like it. Here's another line where I added additional white pines. These are the smaller ones in between. These are the smaller trees in between. So we got 3 rows of pine slash spruce now. Spruce is in the back. And again, we fully expect the spruce trees will die, or there's a good likelihood they will die. So we want to make sure we have a good solid line. So we added the white pines in between to make sure we got a nice windbreak. If you enjoyed this yard tour, give us a thumbs up so YouTube knows to share this content with others. Also consider subscribing so you don't miss any of our other great videos. If you enjoy yard tours, check out this playlist next. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great day.